Coaches, I want to take a few minutes to go over S27. Uh, it's a idea that was born out of a telegram communication back and forth between Coach Hargett and several of our S2A members. And it was just organically born out of complaints about the old tired way of doing just 7-on-7. Um, a complaint from an offensive standpoint that I've always had about 7-on-7 tournaments, practices, games, getting together with another team to do a 7-on-7 is you never get a true, honest look from the defense. You can't really get any type of integrity with a play action pass. Linebackers line up at 8 yards deep, and they look more like safeties than box linebackers. Everyone's going backwards on play action, so there's no reason to do it. And it just becomes a drop back, quick game type deal, and it's not your entire offense. The defense plays two high, man under, one high, man under, etc., and it's just not a realistic look at playing football. Another complaint of recent is 7-on-7 and its tournaments have become just AAU versions, as in basketball, taken over by the AAU element, if you will, that a lot of coaches complain about. If you now utilize S27 as we're coining it, it takes the coaching back into it, the coaching element of really being well versed in what you have to do on offense and defense and being a student of the game and helping your players be better because it simulates. And this is something we always talk about in S2A, simulation of the game. Let's go to the S27 overview. Going to change up the S27 logo there and get something better, and we're working on that currently. Trying to get my cursor up here. But again, on May 9th, 2018, Coach Hargett was talking with members on the Telegram app, and he said, I've kicked around the idea of building an RPO 7-on-7 so that guys like us can get more legitimate work. I think that's the key word, legitimate work. So S27 was launched. Quite simply, the reason it was born is just, again, some of the standard complaints of what 707 has become. It's not been a simulation of a true game. Linebackers are too deep. Coverages are bastardized. All you do is you become a drop back team, and that's not what you do. So the time's come to evolve to S27, basically short for S2A, 7-on-7, a hybrid, if you will. So let's look a little bit more of it, introduce the basics of S27. The difference is S27 and 7-on-7 is that S27 combines the passing of 7-on-7 with some run aspects of a flag football game for the opportunity to coach, execute, defend, and perfect your RPOs. So it is a hybrid. So you have the 7-on-7 element. Two of your players, your quarterback and your running back, have flags on. So you have a run element that keeps the defense honest and also allows you to run play action, RPOs, etc. Everything works like a 7-on-7 game, except the offense now is able to add a live offensive tackle, and the defense adds a live 5 technique over the offensive tackle. So now you're getting not only your quote skill players, your pass catchers, your runners, your throwers, but you're also getting the element of an offensive line and a defensive lineman in. The offensive tackle can only make one of 3 blocking scheme movements based on the scheme call. He can pass set, he can do an inside release or a veer release inside, or he can do a lock, which is also standard for a turnout. The 5 technique, and he has to be a tight five. This cannot be a wide five. Some people call it a wide nine. Can't be a 4-eye, cannot be a 4. He's got to be a tight five. The 5 technique now can get his work because he's got to line up. He's got to get in a stance. He's got to watch the ball. He's got to read the hat. And he's got to react. And he reacts to those 3 basic schemes: a pass set, inside veer release, and a turnout, or what we call a lock. Therefore, both offense and defensive linemen get really good work. And I'll tell you in a minute how we totally control that. The quarterback and the running back wear flags, as in flag football. This allows for the execution and the true defensive reactions of a real game through the RPO attack. So let's look at a few examples playing the game, the S27 game. So we're looking at a sniffer set here against a 1 high safety. The call is for a inside zone lock pop concept. We have the grass over here that the quarterback's reading. We have the bubble over here. So the team has come out, the offensive team's come out in a sniffer set, trips here to the left. Running back is going to execute an inside zone. Quarterback's going to read the left mic for a give. If he's off, a disengage and throw to the pop. If L2 comes and triggers, we're going to hit the bubble. And of course, we have our grass scheme. If R2 is sneaking in, R2's on the line, R3's too far off. Anyway, that's just RPO talk. But what you get right here is the left mic and the right mic are playing true football. They're at 4 yards deep, and they are having to defend a run. They're having to defend a pop. It's a look. One thing that we are going to stress with the offensive tackle and the 5 technique here is that once the offensive tackle produces or executes his scheme, here it's a lock or a turnout, and there is an initial contact, they're off. So we don't want hand fighting. We don't want he said, she said. We don't want pancake blocks. We don't want the 5 technique driving the tackle back in. They're working on alignment, stance, get off, footwork, hand placement, and they're done. Once that happens, they're done. The 5 technique cannot chase down the field for pursuit, chase out for the bubble, come off, sack the quarterback, and tag off and hit the quarterback's arm. Once there is hand placement made, they're done. So coaches really have to stress that, but that's a safety factor. Again, the running back and the quarterback have flags on. So if the ball is given with the left mic coming up or coming back, devalue in the box for the pop, back is taught, put the brake on right here in the A gap, bend it back, and he can get yardage based on that true look right there. So it's a true hybrid of a 7-on-7, a flag, and it allows you to work on your RPOs. Let's get a 2x2 set right here. Just a standard, this is 7-on-7 right here. So now the offensive tackle is working a pass set. The 5 technique would see the snap of the football. He'd get off on the football. He would set up his pass rush move, and then done. One thing we're asking the 5 technique cannot jump up, bat the ball down, which would then, of course, make the tackle retaliate the next time and undercut him, all that junk. Offensive tackle is working on a pass set, whatever that's a quick pass set, if this is a quick scheme, or a drop back if it's a 5-step type scheme, downfield scheme. He's working on his pass set, hand placement, all the techniques it takes for drop back, get off, etc. So again, once they're close, they're dead. It's personal foul. If these guys get into chicken fighting and retaliation and all that bull crap, they're working on their game. So here's a 2x2 look of just regular. Now we've got a 7-on-7 look in our second scheme. Here's what happens here. If we're just playing your everyday old-fashioned 7-on-7 look, where is that Mike? He's about right there. He looks like a third safety, and they're playing some kind of 2 under, I mean, man under, too high, some type of just bullcrap Tampa 2, and nothing gets done right there. So this is an excellent way of making the defense play honest. Hey, defensive guys watching this, that's what you're teaching your guys. You want to be honest. You want to react and get a game look. Let's get a 3-by-1. Now, and again, it doesn't matter if it's 3-on-1, 2-by-2, 3-by-1, 3-by-2, et cetera, or empty, whatever. Just going through different looks here. Now our offensive tackle is going to take a veer, what I call a veer release, inside release, because now we're running a full inside zone scheme with the quarterback reading the 5 technique. Now, what we're teaching the offensive tackle, again, I'm going to step, I'm going to rip, and I'm going to dip, and I'm trying to get up to the second level. What we're going to ask the offensive tackle in the S27 game is to stop at 3 yards and hunker down. You're done. Don't want to chase the mic. Don't want to belly up to the mic. Don't want to do any type of pancake the mic. Now, the next time the mic doesn't give a darn, he's going to go rip the head off that tackle. That's not what we're about. That's not what we're going to do. We're working on footwork, and we're working on technique. So I'm going to step, rip, dip, work up field, and I'm dead. If the 5 technique reacts to this, if he's taught to squeeze, he's reading the hat, he's squeezing, and he's done right here at the line of scrimmage. I'm not going to come down here. The 5 technique will never go pull a flag if we hand that. The 5 technique will never chase. We don't want that. These kids are working on their specific technique. So if the quarterback reads squeeze, quarterback's going to come off, read the left mic here for the hitch, etc. RPO scheme is not really important. He's got no less than 4 things he could do right off the bat, no less. Grass, give, keep, throw. So you're working on your RPO. Defense has got to play honest, and there's a lot of good things that can happen here in S27. Let's look at a last look. And here I just drew up an old standard spread bootleg play action pass. What happens here when I engage the belly in the ball and have a slight ride with my back? We're in a 2-by-2 set. We're going to run a bootleg, little squirrel route, go, shallow cross or drag, hitch backside, etc. Quarterback's going to engage and boot. Well, we've got an inside release. We got squeeze. Remember, the end won't come into play to hold this up or anything like that, but because once he does what his coach is asking him to do in the scheme, he may get right here at the line of scrimmage and he plays dead. He's working again on his technique. But what happens here is when I engage this, the mic, the R2, the R1, and R3 don't know if it's outside zone that way, inside zone that way. So they're playing honest football, honest football, honest football, honest football. Then it allows the quarterback to come off in a boot and have a true look at the coverage and read the triangle and make his throw and execute. Again, that's what defenses have to do in a game, and that's what anything that we ever do with kids, we want to simulate games. So there's no gripe there from the defense. That's what you do in a football game. We're putting the 5 technique to contain at a disadvantage, but remember, in all 7-on-7s, the quarterback has a 4-second count once the ball's snapped. So he can't be out here breaking contain, etc. By the way, the only time that the quarterback can run, let's go back here to this inside zone look. The only time that the quarterback can run is if he rides, squeeze, and he comes off. Left mic, feathers, we're running downfield. The quarterback in this case cannot run the football. He's either going to get the sack on the 4 count or throw the football. So that's 4 overviews right there of S27. In our S2A forum, we've also laid out rules for the game. Basically, it's your 7-on-7 rules. I did put it in the flag portion of the game, flag pulling, standard flag pulling. If you're ever played, they play, and if you talk about safety, PE classes, girls and guys play flag football in PE, for crying out loud. So the safety factor is no more, no less than it would be in a regular 7-on-7. You can't tell me that a receiver from the outside running a slant, catching that ball, and the safety coming downhill to tag him is any less or any more dangerous than a running back getting the ball, running inside zone, fronted up, trying to pull the flag. But a couple of big flag rules is that the offensive player cannot, of course, not guard the flag with his offhand. Also, no defensive player can leave their feet to dive for a flag. It's just normal flag rules. Couple other S2, and again, these are scoring and 7-on-7. They're pretty standard all over the nation on 7-on-7. Some S27 specifics. Quarterback and running back designated in the backfield, they wear flags. If you're going to go empty and that running back slots out wide, just take the flag off, or his flags don't count because he's no longer in the backfield. Quarterback and the running back are the only eligible players to execute a run. So there's not going to be speed options. There's not going to be reverses. There's not going to be underneath shuffle passes. Yeah, you're working on the RPO portion in S27. We can get into point for run later. Something that Coach Hargett and I are really debating. I believe the offensive should receive a point for any 10-yard plus run, not resulting in a touchdown. So if you're at the 40-yard line and a inside zone read results in a 10-yard plus run, the offense ought to get a point. I believe it makes the defense, again, honor and have defensive integrity. So, that's something that I would really look at. Again, your live offensive tackle may only execute 3 blocking schemes: pass set, inside veer release, as in a full zone read, or a lock or a turnout block. Those are the things. Once that there's a contact is made, just bam, I've got hand placement, we're done. The 5 technique has to follow, of course, the tackle. So he's going to get practice on the right and the left of the defense. As a 5 technique, he must be in a tight 5. He reads and reacts to the offensive tackle's 3 moves. No batting down passes and no ball pursuit for the tackle on any play. Underneath defenders, so your 2 linebackers in the box, your R2, your L2, etc. No defender can engage and attack the line of scrimmage until the ball is placed or seated in the belly of the running back. This prohibits, blitz, which is not really what we're looking for in terms of practicing or working against each other. So now they can come and react, which is good for the offense because now the quarterback can disengage and throw the pop, throw the bubble, etc. if one of these players engages the line of scrimmage. But it allows for these players to play out in space and react. They can react forward if the ball is seated into the running back's belly. But there's no just as soon as the ball snap, here I come, blitzing and coming to the line of scrimmage. We don't want that forward thing and then people butting into each other. That's the reason for that. Hope that gives you a little bit more insight into S27. Find it on our forum, and let me see if I can get you that real quick on the forum. Here we go. But anyway, on the forum, it's going to have its own distinct board. So right underneath the game strat ad, you'll have the S27. We've already had a coach. I think Coach Langley in Alabama has already asked about, what teams are in Alabama that can line up against him. If you go in to the board, here's the attachment of everything that I just showed. Coach Lloyd. I'm sorry. Here's Coach Lloyd. Anybody around Alabama want to play this summer? So it's just some, great thoughts of what we want to do. I think this can fundamentally change the way 7-on-7 is conducted and taught and make you a better RPO coach. And if nothing else, it allows you to work against somebody to have a defense that you're going against, to have integrity. You can practice this way. You can go against other teams this way. I really think it's going to change the face of how coaches do things. That's S27. Go look it up right here. Ask any questions. Appreciate y'all.